Hey, Garrick here. I'm going to run you through the best way I know to renovate or open better restaurants, cafes, and bars faster, for less money, less stress, and with hyper efficient layouts that maximize sales and reduce labor costs from day one. Now, I'm going to do two things. One, I'll show you what that journey looks like for independent operators opening multiple of these things. And two, the key pieces of planning, design, and construction or build to open better spaces. Now, I've designed 500 plus restaurants, cafes, and bars. I've owned four of my own. I've helped operators throughout the world um, shave 150K off their build or save 30K in professional fees, fix their layouts and add $1,500 a week in sales. I've done it lots and lots of times. So stay tuned. I'll show you how it all works. So now, opening or renovating a space or opening more locations looks a lot like this, right? When you go through the phases, everyone starts in the same place. You've got a new location or one you are renovating. Now, what you want to do is get through that build and create something that's busy, profitable, and opens on budget and on time. Yeah. So it either goes two ways. You either use a designer normally or you DIY it. Now, both ways work. People do them every single day. And what's interesting, and I'll show you what happens normally with the both. I don't know which one you're doing. You might be doing what DIY or designer. So DIY, you sign the lease, you might put tape on the floor, you'll get on Pinterest and figure things out, you talk to contractors and you pull it all together as you go. It's scrappy, it can work, you can bring your costs down, but you might have some pretty expensive guesses and mistakes and you might be not sure if something's going to work before you commit to it. But you get it up. Now, if you use a designer, you hand it over and you trust the process and spend some real money, right? And sometimes it's great, but sometimes the designers get what they want and less so what you want. They often don't own restaurants, cafes, and bars. Most of them haven't, and so they don't understand how these spaces need to work operationally. Things might get missed off the plans, and a few negative outcomes there. So, in this old way, let's call it, you will often end up with change orders, what we call them in the US and Canada, or variations, Australia, the UK and New Zealand. Something that's missed from the plans or it's not within the scope, and the contractor says, the air conditioning is going to be 40 grand. We haven't priced for it. You might end up with an inefficient layout. Like I said, either you make a mistake because you couldn't really figure it out, or the designer creates something that looks amazing, wins a design award, but isn't awfully efficient. And you live with it forever. You might open later than you want. So open late, 2, 3, 4 weeks, the air conditioning had to get ordered or whatever, things just get missed. And so you're looking at an extra 4 weeks of rent. Maybe you've hired some staff and you either got to pay them for those 4 weeks or let them go because they need work and they need a job somewhere else, and then panic hire slightly less good people later on. And you'll open over budget. Change orders, variations, things get missed, staff delays, all that. So that's pretty quickly how your 300K build becomes 400K or whatever your over budget is. And then ultimately it's not what you wanted, not quite what you wanted. You're not overly happy about it. So it doesn't really matter which path you take. Most people end up somewhere here. And then eventually you decide you want the next one and you're back at this place again. You might If you DIY'd, you might use a designer this time, or if you use a designer, you might DIY, or you might do the same thing again and do it a bit better. And after doing this a couple of times, most people start looking around for something that might be a better way of doing things, and that's exactly why you're here. I want to keep going around on this loop. Now, you want a process that actually works. So regardless of which path you take. And that's why we've got this better solution over here. So we'll call it the new way. Now, with this way, there are no change orders or variations, or at least they're planned for. You've got them in the budget, change your mind at some point, and you can do the different thing that you want to do. It is hyper efficient, so you are not stuck with a quicksand instead of a proper foundation. You've actually got something that you can dial your labor in to keep it as efficient as possible and get as much product out during your busy periods as possible. You're open on time so that you make the most of your rent-free periods and your staff, etc. You plan it right, you've got a tight scope, it all just kind of runs cleanly, right? And you open on budget. It's all managed, you know your real numbers, it's all under control. And so ultimately you are getting what you wanted. You're happy with it, it's for the right amount of money, runs well, it operates well. Now, this is not luck, it's a process. Yeah. And the build starts being such a stressful part of what you do and how you're building your restaurant, cafe, bar empire. Now I'll show you where builds typically go wrong and how to fix it. So we're talking money and time, right? The two things that go wrong in every build. Whether it's your first build or your 10th, it's the same problems, right? The costs blow out, the timeline blows out, the layout isn't right. And most operators hit a point where there has to be a better way. And running your build on instinct every time is exhausting and the mistakes are expensive. So, yeah, I've designed over 500 of these. I've owned my own 4. I know exactly, I've seen it all before. So I'll show you the system now. So that when you look at your next build, you can go, where am I exposed? What do I need to get sorted first? And what do I do about it? So I'll walk you through it now. Quick thing before I get into it, if you've already seen enough and you want to find out more, just jump on Instagram and send me a DM of coffee. Yeah, just send DM Restaurant Design Academy. The word coffee, it'll be our little secret code, whatever. So I know you've seen this video. I'll send you a quick document that just has what working together looks like. Just go do that and I'll see you soon. Let me walk you through the system. It's the best way I know how to get you to open your next location right. Now, the sweet spot is in the middle here, the goal, so that we're aligned on outcomes. And my goal for you, and if this isn't aligned, feel free to click out, find someone else or another way to do it, but that you open the restaurant you want for the money you have and it makes money. Pretty sure that is the goal every single time. Now, you may think you have to choose that it looks good or it's cost effective. You don't. What I want for you is the right layout, the right budget, open on time, you're proud of what you built, you love it, and as you open more locations, the build gets smoother every single time, not harder. Now, this looks different depending on where you're at, and I've got some people here. George over here, this is George and his brother, their first real burger went really well. They make good money, and now he wants to build an empire of them. He wants dozens of stores. And he needs the most efficient, repeatable way to open many without the cost blowing out each and every time. And it's now got a process that scales, and each one opens cleaner and cheaper and better. You've got Frank over here, and he's already opened 9 or 10 different locations, big spots, restaurants, bars, bakery, that sort of thing. And he has the budget to hire good designers, but what he wants is the skills to properly brief them and control them, so that he gets operationally efficient floor plans. The designers aren't over specifying, and he doesn't want to design these things himself. He just doesn't want to get walked over in the process. Then you got Sean over here, who's got a pizza shop, burger shop, and a sandwich/deli. And he's creative. He's got big ideas and clear vision, and he just wants the skills to be able to get the ideas out of his head into something that he can actually build from, instead of having to rely on designers and other people. So, you got 3 operators here, 3 different situations, but the same ultimate goal, which is to be in control of the build and proud of what they're open. So, it's on budget, it works well, they're proud of it, they love it, they're in control. The system works because 3 things become true in every build you do from now on. Your planning is done right. So you create a concept and a layout that your guests love and that works operational efficiency. Your design and pricing is dialed in and accurate, so you have confidence on what the thing's going to cost. And you've got control of your project, so that you got real visibility of your timeline and your budget. And frankly, you get to enjoy building the place that you're building. That's the sweet spot. Does that connect with you right now? Because either you want heaps of stores, or you already have them and you want more control of the new ones you open, or you want 1, 2, 3 really good stores that you can fully create and bring to life. And if getting this right matters, then this is worth staying for. So there's only 3 things that are really getting in your way, right? You might have a vision problem, so like an unclear vision. You've got a pricing problem, as an inaccurate pricing, and a control problem. Basically, you've got build chaos. With the vision, it's the gap between what's in your head and what ends up in the concept and the plans, whether you DIY it or you're with a designer. And maybe the concept's not exactly what you wanted, and the floor plan's not exactly hyper efficient. It's a bit inefficient. Now, with the pricing, your bids or your quotes or your prices, they look fine, but then change orders and the variations start coming in, and there's a disconnect between your design and what was done and what your actual budget is, and you've got no clarity on what your pricing is. And then when it comes to that build, you're not really, it's not in control, right? There's just chaos. The budget's being blown throughout all the change orders and variations, and the timeline's being blown out, and it's just pretty fucking chaotic, and it sucks. So, no clear vision and inaccurate pricing and a bit of chaos on the site. It's not much fun. What we want is a very clear vision, exactly what we want it to look like, exactly how we want it to run. And the way we do that is through, 1, a concept builder, and we really know what we want the space to be before we hand it over to designer or try to design it, and it's very, very clear, and it's based on actual target markets and actual business values, instead of just a bunch of stuff that you like and have seen on Pinterest. Yeah, Betty did this. Where's Betty? Betty's over here. She had great taste, really knew what she wanted, saw it really start to drift when she used designers on other projects, and they ended up designing things that they wanted for their design awards. But when she went through this concept builder process, she got just total control of it. She was able to save 30 grand in professional fees and actually create the thing that she wanted. So if we look at this and we think about you, if you think about a traffic light, and green is, yeah, 100%, I have that dialed in and exactly right. Orange is, yeah, look, it's okay, but maybe it could work a little bit. And red is, no, fuck, I've got no control of my concept whatsoever. It's either I'm DIYing it and it doesn't look what I thought it would, or the designer's run off and done something that I don't really love. If you can just give yourself a little score on that one, that'd be great. Let's just call it an orange right now. Now, the next part of a clear vision is this floor plan formula. I've got a bit of a system on how to create the perfect floor plan based on all the different inputs that are important. And Jay over here, who's got lowbrow, he went through the process. He was able to tweak his floor plan and get an extra $1,500 a week in sales into his business based on just being a hell of a lot more efficient and getting a few more tables in there as well. If you checked over yourself and looked at your skills and confidence around this, what would you be? Like, do you have to leave it for the designers? Do you feel confident that you can get the perfect layout, which is a fundamentally important thing? I'd say a fair few people would be in the red on there. And so when we look at all of this, when your vision's clear and your concept's locked in and your floor plan's hyper efficient, the whole build and everything that you're doing starts from a much better foundation instead of quicksand. Now, when we're looking at the pricing and design, you've got inaccurate pricing, which is based on a design that wasn't really reflective of budget, and what we really want naturally is accurate pricing. So we know we're getting something we love for the money that we actually have. The way we do that is using this thing that I've called the design toolshed. And we use that to either design it ourselves or properly brief and control a designer to make sure that the design is in line with the money that you want to spend or that you have available. It's pretty easy to design something incredible using the most expensive stuff in the world. But if it's not reality, it's not reality. Now, our mate George did exactly that, and he opened up his burger joint for like $150,000 instead of normally what would cost $350,000. And he did that by being in control. People love this place. He makes good money out of it. He's got all his operational things dialed in. I think he's making about 20% net profit out of it. And he's able to pay that off, his $150,000, quickly because he's kept that build cost low and he was in control of that design. That's how we do that. So if you were to tick that, I think we'd be sitting probably in that orange red for a lot of us. The next part of it with being in control of the design is having a scope system, which is basically making sure that what is being priced is actually what you're going to get in the end, right? When things are very loose or things are missed out, that's when things get chaotic. That's when they blow out. That's when you get change orders and variations. So it's very expensive when someone comes up to you and go, oh, we thought that was included, or we thought we didn't have to price for that. So if you look at your scope and your previous projects, did you get hit by change orders and variations? And that's one of the biggest issues people come to me with, and I'd say that's pretty clearly a red for quite a lot of people. Next up, we've got our build. And so how do we go from build chaos to project control. How do we get in control of our project? Well, it's when things go wrong in your project, it's normally one of two things. It's either the budget blows out or the timeline blows out. And both of those cost you a whole lot of money and stress. Now I've got something called a budget blueprint, which is a simple way to stay in control of your budget, manage it throughout the build, and make sure that there's no surprises and that you've got contingencies and allowances there for things that just couldn't be predicted. Our friend Betty, she used that to open for 200 grand her next Vietnamese restaurant and stayed on that budget. So it's really quite a critical part of the process. That being said, yeah, I think there's quite a few people out there that are pretty good at managing things as they go along. So you might have a green over there for your traffic light. Now, the next part is basically navigating your project. And so I call it the project navigator. And this is when we control the sequencing of things so that they happen on time, when they need to happen, and we know every week what problems are coming up and what needs to be fixed. Whether it's permits or equipment or staff, you know exactly when you need to do things. And both actually Sean and George used this process really well. They had complicated buildings, heritage sites, things could have easily blown out by a hell of a lot. But by using this system, they were able to stay in control. And I would say that this is a red for quite a lot of us. Now, if you looked at your project, do you have that scheduling and that project under control? So this is where we're at. We've got a map of your past builds and what the future ones are going to look like. We've got some greens, some oranges, and a few reds in there as well. Now, if there were 2 or 3 things in here that you could get right before your next build that'll make the biggest difference, what are they? Just circle them or think about them or write them down. That's your constraint. That's where the money's being lost or the stress is being created. And for each of these problems, there's a proven way to get through them and solve it. That's what we work on together in the program. Regardless of where you're at on the map, the tools are straightforward. For each one, there's a clear, practical way through. And that's exactly what we work on in the program. If it sounds good to you, sounds right, just DM me on Instagram at Restaurant Design Academy with the word coffee. That's how I know you come from this video. Send me that word coffee. I'll come back to you. I'll find out a bit about where you're at. Nothing complicated, and I'll send you the info. If it's for you, you know what to do. If it's not, no hard feelings. I hope this was helpful either way. If it was useful, send that message, coffee, to Restaurant Design Academy. I'll see you in my inbox.